Hey guys, tonight we slip into the linen sandals of an ancient Egyptian perfumer. Yes, that was a job, and walk a whole day in your scented shoes. You probably won't survive this. Between the heat, the hippos, and the political drama hidden in a jar of rose oil, it's not exactly a spa day. But it is oddly soothing, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Feel free to post your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where everyone's drifting off from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up not to an alarm clock, but to the muffled hum of boatmen poling across the Nile. The reed curtains of your modest, mud brick home ripple as dawn creeps through, and the air already smells like clay, fish, and something herbal, wafting from the neighbor's doorway. Probably henna. You rub the sleep from your eyes with fingers stained faintly amber from yesterday's oil pressing. Another early start. The sky is the kind of soft pink that painters will one day try to recreate in museums, but for now, it's just a signal. Time to work. Outside, the Nile steams like a tea kettle. It's late Akhet season, flood time. The river has generously vomited its black silt across the floodplains again, turning the world into a garden. Papyrus stalks sway like sleepy dancers, and you can just barely hear the croak of a toad giving his morning TED talk from under a stone. Your cat, who you've ironically named Anubis despite his total lack of judgment, trails behind you. He immediately tries to bite a passing beetle. The beetle wins. You take a moment to wash with cold water poured from a clay jug. Not because you're especially clean by modern standards, let's face it, you'll be drenched in sweat by the first hour, but because you're about to handle sacred scents, and the gods don't appreciate oily fingerprints on their altar bowls. Your workshop is small but tidy, nestled between the home of a semi-retired bread maker and a very vocal goose. The bread maker nods as you pass. The goose doesn't. Inside the workshop, your stone-grinding slabs and copper tools await, patiently silent under linen cloths. There's an unopened lump of resin from Byblos, a shipment of cedarwood that arrived via donkey caravan last week, and a suspiciously dusty box that may or may not still contain galbanum. You'll check that later, maybe. You open a tightly wrapped pouch of ground juniper and inhale deeply. Sharp, fresh, oddly calming. Exactly what you'll need for today's blend. But first, a stop at the temple. Your first customer this morning is divine. Literally. The priest of Hathor has commissioned you to prepare the sacred incense blend used at dawn rituals. It's the kaifi, a complex sweet mixture of myrrh, honey, wine-soaked raisins, cinnamon bark, and about 6 other ingredients that somehow smell like the feeling of a warm nap. You measure ingredients with careful fingers, adding a bit more frankincense than usual. Not because the gods are picky, but because this batch is going to be burned right after yesterday's ritual offerings and, well, the smell of half-charred fish livers tends to linger. As you work, the quiet is interrupted by the rhythmic slap of sandals on clay. A young temple assistant arrives with a jug of palm wine half empty. He tells you with a grin that the high priest accidentally blessed the wine 5 times yesterday, so it's probably safe to use in your blend now. You give him a skeptical eyebrow, but accept the wine anyway. It's not your place to question how sacred fermentation works. In the distance, you hear the low musical drone of sistrums. It's almost time for the temple bells. You pack your satchel and head out, threading through palm-shaded alleyways toward the temple. The road is already busy. Farmers leading squeaky carts of onions, a group of children chasing a hoop with sticks, a bald man yelling at a donkey that clearly outranks him. As you approach the temple's sandstone steps, the heat sharpens, bouncing off the pale walls. You duck into the cool interior, inhaling the chalky aroma of powdered limestone and old incense. A bored-looking cat sits beneath a lotus-painted column, clearly running the place. The priest greets you with a brief nod, holding out his hand for the mixture. You hand it over, careful not to spill. Your payment will come later, a mix of barley, dried fish, and hopefully a small silver ring you've had your eye on. The incense is placed onto glowing coals and the scent swirls upward. Myrrh thickens the air, Sweet smoke curls like lazy snakes, and the chamber suddenly feels like it exists outside of time. Historians still argue whether these temple rituals were more religious performance or social pageant, but to you, it's always felt a little of both. You watch for a moment as the priest begins to chant. The smoke rises, the light shifts, and then you sneeze. You try to pretend it didn't happen, but one of the drummers smirks. Time to go. Outside, the sun has fully risen, already high and hot. You pull your linen shawl up to shield your neck. The next stop is your workshop again, where a noblewoman is expecting a fresh batch of lotus oil before the midday sun wilts the real flowers. She's fussy, always insisting you capture the exact scent of the garden at moonrise, whatever that means. As you pass the riverbank, you spot a fisherman gutting a catfish the size of your leg. He waves with the knife. You wave back, carefully. Bird screeches overhead, dropping what you hope is just a twig. It's going to be a long, fragrant day. Back in your workshop, the air has already taken on that mid-morning warmth that makes everything smell twice as strong and move half as fast. You kick off your sandals at the door because there's nothing worse than dragging street dust into a workspace full of sticky resins and irreplaceable flower oils. Plus, you've just swept the floor with a palm frond broom yesterday, and that counts as exercise. The room greets you like an old friend, shelves of glassy oils and wax-sealed, jars mortar bowls that look deceptively clean, and your favorite obsidian grinder, which you've named Biter. Not because it actually bites, though once during a clumsy moment it did take a bit of your thumbnail. Lesson learned: don't pound cassia bark when you're sleepy. You lay out your tools methodically: stone pestles, bronze tweezers, tiny, alabaster vials polished smooth with river sand. Each item is well used, well loved, and ever so slightly sticky. You set a fresh pad of linen down as your work surface, smoothing the edges like a surgeon preparing for very slow, very fragrant surgery. Today's blend calls for blue lotus petals, sandalwood dust, and a tiny shaving of orris root, imported from across the Mediterranean. If the merchant wasn't lying through his teeth again. The lotus petals are delicate, and you crush them with care, breathing in the scent as it grows stronger under pressure. Floral, earthy, just slightly honeyed. You pour the crushed petals into a shallow bowl already streaked with sandalwood residue, and then it's time for oil, cold-pressed from local moringa seeds and nearly as golden as the jewelry the noblewomen like to flash around the courtyard. Now comes the fun part, balancing. Too much oil and the scent fades into something greasy. Too little, and it clumps like week-old porridge. You stir slowly with a narrow reed stick, making circles that widen outward like ripples on the Nile. Anubis the cat watches from the windowsill, tail twitching in judgment. This particular order is for Lady Kenty, who once tried to pay you with an anklet made of dried beetles. Aesthetic, perhaps. Legal tender. Not even close. Still, she's a repeat customer, and her requests have grown increasingly eccentric. She once claimed your sandalwood blend reminded her of her grandmother's pet goose. You didn't ask. You just nodded and said thank you. As the perfume begins, to settle, the room fills with a scent so soft and deep it almost feels musical. You tip the mixture into an alabaster jar, seal it with a little linen cork, and wrap it in palm fiber twine. That's one job down, a dozen to go. You stretch your back, which cracks in exactly the way spines aren't supposed to. Then you glance at the list scratched into a pottery shard on your work table. 5 more custom blends, 3 temple orders, and 1 anonymous commission labeled only for the midnight visit. You try not to imagine what that's about. Next, you open a long box of fresh supplies delivered by your favorite courier, who never knocks, always just leaves things under your basil plant. Inside, juniper berries, a solid lump of labdanum. You hope it's labdanum, it could also be camel wax, and a tightly wrapped scroll with an odd wax seal, a stylized cobra. You raise an eyebrow but tuck it away. Intrigue is for after lunch. Right. Now you're working on a new blend requested by a traveling merchant from Nubia. He wants something bold, spicy, earthy, with a touch of wild goat energy. His words, not yours. You decide to experiment. A little cassia bark, crushed into flaky red dust, a pinch of cumin because why not, a few drops of elemi resin, which makes the whole workshop smell like someone just cleaned a temple with lemons and fire. Then, because you're feeling bold, you shave the tiniest sliver from your prized block of imported ambergris. Technically, it came from the sea. Practically, it smells like ancient sunlight trapped in whale spit. Still, it's expensive and you use it sparingly. As you blend, the scent shifts. First sharp, then mellow, then smoky sweet, like the memory of a bonfire on a cool night. You test it on your wrist, rub and sniff. Bold, yes. Goat energy. Maybe too much. Historians still argue whether perfumers like you worked entirely alone or operated in guilds, with secrets passed down through families. You like to imagine you're part of a secret brotherhood of scent wizards, though the only other perfumer you know personally is a smug guy named Hori who once spilled cinnamon oil in his own lap and blamed the gods. Your thoughts are interrupted by a light tapping on the doorframe. A young servant stands there, clearly sent by someone important, judging by the silver-threaded sash and the fact that he looks like he hasn't blinked in an hour. He delivers a message. The high priest of Amun requests a consultation. For what, the boy doesn't say. You sigh, gather a few test vials and throw on your better shawl, the one that doesn't smell like burned onion. Just as you're about to leave, you glance at the window. The goose from next door is staring at you again, probably judging your sandal choice. You step into the sunlight once more, heading toward the temple district. The weight of your satchel is familiar, comforting. Each bottle clinks gently, like little glass promises. It's going to be one of those days. The road to the Temple of Amun is paved with gossip. You don't even need to eavesdrop. Conversations float through the air like lotus pollen. A market woman yells about overpriced dates. Two scribes argue about whether a broken nose on a statue means divine wrath or just poor craftsmanship. A teenage boy is explaining loudly why he definitely did not knock over the offering tray last night, despite the witnesses. You nod politely to a papyrus seller whose left sandal is on the verge of retirement. Your path winds past a shrine to Bez, the squat little god of music, childbirth, and general chaos. Someone's left a garland of garlic and beer beside his statue. You give it a respectful glance. Bess may be short, but he is not to be underestimated. The IG Temple district looms ahead, walls high and whitewashed, casting long shadows. The heat here presses differently, more reverent somehow, as if even the sun knows to whisper. You're ushered inside by a nervous-looking boy with ink-stained fingers. He smells faintly of cedar and panic. "This way, honored perfumer," he says, stumbling slightly on the word honored, like it caught in his throat. You follow him through a maze of colonnades and incense-thick halls. Priests in crisp linen pass by, holding scrolls or bronze trays of pomegranate seeds. A few glance your way, calculating the weight of your satchel like it holds secrets, which, frankly, it does. The high priest awaits in a small shaded chamber lined with carved falcons and painted stars. He's older than you expected, eyes like burnt gold and hands that don't shake when he lifts the scroll in front of him. "We're preparing for a ceremonial embalming," he says without preamble, "and we need a scent strong enough to mask the indignities." "Ah, that kind of job." You nod slowly. "Embalming isn't your favorite task. There's a fine line between sacred aroma and this room smells like spicy tragedy." He continues. "The deceased is a minor noble, very minor, but his family is loud and they're paying in wheat." You ask what kind of scent profile they're hoping for. He thinks for a moment. Soothing, serious, with just a touch of eternity. Of course, eternity in a jar. You'll get right on that. You leave the temple with a slip of papyrus listing required ingredients. Cedarwood, frankincense, juniper, myrrh, bitumen. Classic. Strong enough to stop even the worst posthumous odors in their tracks. The sun is directly overhead now, and you retreat under the shade of a fig tree near your workshop. You sip from a skin of barley water, watching as a pair of ducks chase each other in nonsensical fury across the street. One trips over a pebble. Justice is swift. Back inside, you set to work. You already have most of the ingredients. The cedar is sharp and grounding, the myrrh thick like molasses, and the frankincense crumbles in your fingers like sugar from a dream. You heat the bitumen gently over a small charcoal flame. It bubbles ominously but calms down after you whisper a few curses at it. As the mixture comes together, The scent grows dense, resinous, almost holy. You smear a little onto a strip of linen and wave it under your nose. Effective. You briefly imagine your own funeral smelling like this, then shake the thought away with a laugh. The last touch is juniper berry oil, bright and crisp. It cuts through the gloom like a sunbeam in a catacomb. Perfect balance. You jar the blend carefully, sealing it with a tiny ankh-shaped stopper. You'll deliver it tomorrow. No embalming today, thank the gods. With that handled, you turn to something a little more indulgent. A wealthy spice merchant's wife has ordered a luxury scent fit for a queen, but not too floral, and definitely not something her sister would wear. You suspect there's drama there. You don't ask. You start with rose, not because it's simple, but because it's difficult. The petals bruise if you even look at them wrong, and the distillation process requires more patience than a cat watching a mouse. As you prep the petals for maceration, your neighbor leans over the wall and asks if you have anything to repel flies. You offer him a wad of crushed mint wrapped in linen. He looks dubious but thanks you anyway. Meanwhile, the rose blend begins to develop. You fold in hints of cardamom, lemon balm, and a sliver of cinnamon bark soaked in red wine. The scent that emerges is soft, radiant, and just a little dangerous. You test it on the inside of your elbow. Historians still argue whether Egyptian perfumes were worn more for spiritual protection or just good old social climbing. You suspect it's both. Nothing says divine favor like smelling better than everyone else in the room. As the day begins to dim, you clean your tools with a mixture of vinegar and palm ash. The light shifts golden, shadows lengthen, and the sounds of the street change. More laughter, clatter from cooking pots, a flute playing somewhere off-key. You're about to close shop when someone knocks softly at the door. It's the courier again. This time, he holds a wrapped parcel, long and narrow, and a message from the lady in white. Use with discretion. You stare at the parcel. You're not sure who the lady in white is, but the last time someone sent a mystery item wrapped in linen, you ended up making a perfume that gave an entire dinner party hallucinations of flying crocodiles. You accept the parcel. You'll open it tomorrow. Maybe. You wake early, stirred not by the sun but by the rhythmic tapping of someone trying to herd goats past your window. It's not going well. One goat is absolutely refusing to accept the concept of forward. Another is nibbling on your reed, mat. You make a mental note, new mat, preferably goat-proof. Inside your workshop, the air is still cool. That brief sliver of time before the heat arrives, before resin starts sweating in the jars and flower petals wilt on sight. You light a small cone of incense, not for the scent but to keep the flies from yesterday's deliveries at bay. They've apparently decided to unionize. The mysterious parcel from the lady in white is still sitting where you left it, wrapped, in linen and tied with gold thread. Dramatic. You pick it up, weigh it in your hands. Light. A faint scent clings to it, lavender and something sharp, almost metallic. You untie the thread and unwrap the cloth slowly, half expecting a scorpion or a sarcastic note. Instead, it's a vial, tall, narrow, carved from pale green glass with a stopper shaped like a falcon's head. Expensive. You tilt it gently. Inside is a liquid as dark as wine, swirling thick and slow. You unstopper it carefully and inhale. It smelled complicated, not unpleasant, but layered, ancient, like damp stone under moonlight, like cold pomegranate seeds in a clay bowl. There's something in it you can't place, woody, salty, almost like tears. You shiver. And it's not from the temperature. This isn't perfume. This is a message. You seal it again and place it on your highest shelf. You'll deal with it after breakfast and a full cup of barley tea. You turn instead to your morning backlog, starting with a temple order, a balm for priests who burn incense all day and end up with noses that rebel. You grind chamomile, marshmallow root, and a pinch of clove, blending it into goose fat. Not glamorous, but effective. The smell is oddly comforting, like warm bread wrapped in herbs. You test a dab on your own nostril, instant relief. You might keep a pot for yourself. Next up, a perfume for a young noblewoman preparing for her betrothal. She specified something fresh, youthful, and like I haven't tried too hard, but obviously I have. Of course, you decide on a green base, crushed mint, cucumber pulp, and a splash of lime peel. Then add a breath of sweet almond oil and a hint of papyrus bark to anchor it. The result smells like an early morning garden walk, dewy, bright, and just a little mischievous. You test it, then add one more drop of galbanum to give it staying power. Halfway through mixing, a bee decides your shoulder is the most fascinating place it's ever seen. You freeze, it stays. You name it Buzzarelli, and try to finish the blend without moving your upper body. Buzzarelli eventually departs of his own accord. You're both better for the encounter. Outside, the heat has arrived. You prop open your shutters and place a shallow dish of cool water on the windowsill, mostly for Anubis the cat, partly for your own sanity. As you clean up your workspace, a memory bubbles up. Your first scent blend as a child. You'd crushed lily petals and dusted them with cinnamon, presenting it proudly to your grandmother, who patted your head and immediately sneezed for 10 straight minutes. She still says, "It was memorable." Historians still argue whether ancient Egyptian perfumers passed on their techniques formally or learned by osmosis, by watching, imitating, improvising. In your case, it was mostly trial, error, and sneezing relatives. Your next client arrives, in person, unannounced. He's wrapped in a linen cloak despite the heat, his fingers stained with ink and wax. A scribe, probably royal. You recognize the faint scent of temple ink, blackened cedar soot mixed with fish glue and oil. Not a perfume, but distinct. You offer him water, which he declines. He produces a folded scroll and says, "I was told, you know how to trap dreams." Well, that's a new one. He elaborates. He's transcribing a series of prophetic texts, and the high priest wants a scent to accompany the readings, something to guide the mind gently through shadowed thoughts. That's vague enough to be either incredibly poetic or incredibly dangerous. You accept the commission anyway. You begin the blend with night-blooming jasmine, delicate, haunting, and only harvested in the last hours before sunrise. You add crushed violet leaf, a drop of camphor, and just a trace of black cumin. The scent is strange, contemplative, almost trance-like. You call it Whispers of Thoth and label it in demotic for extra mystery. By mid-afternoon, your hands are stained with oil, your robe smells like 10 different moods, and you're considering whether it's socially acceptable to nap under your own work table. You choose tea instead. You step outside for a moment, letting the sun find your shoulders. The street is quieter now. A merchant is playing a bone flute badly. A child chases a painted hoop down the alley. San Uibis walks past like it owns the place. You sip your barley tea, gaze at the sky, and think, not a bad life. Then you remember the vial. Back inside, you take it down from the shelf. Just holding it gives you goosebumps again. You wonder where. It came from what it was made to do. You unstopper it once more and pour a single drop onto a scrap of linen. The scent rises slowly. Less a perfume now, more a memory. You see, imagine a night sky over Thebes, torches flickering, a figure in white descending a staircase, a perfume worn only once for one specific hour. Whatever this is, it's old, powerful, maybe even sacred. You rewrap it and decide tomorrow you'll ask your old mentor. He once worked for the palace, and if anyone knows what this is, it's him. Until then, you label the vial in code and tuck it into a reed box beneath your spice rack. You've had weirder days. Morning again, and your knees crack as you stretch. You tell yourself it's the weather, not the passage of time or the occupational hazards of crouching over mortars all day. Outside, a few palm fronds rustle gently, and the smell of frying. Lentils wafts in from a neighbor's hearth. Somewhere a rooster is extremely confused about when dawn is. Today you're off to visit your old mentor, Jehuti, the former palace perfumer turned semi-retired spice philosopher. You haven't seen him in months, mostly because he likes to pretend he's grumpy and unreachable, but also because the last time you visited, his cat tried to steal your sandal mid-conversation. You pack the vial from the lady in white, sealed, tight in its reed box, and wrap it in a scrap of old linen that still smells like basil. You also bring him a fresh cone of blue lotus resin. You know he likes to chew them like candy, and honestly it keeps him agreeable. His home sits just outside the temple district, nestled behind a fig orchard and surrounded by broken amphorae. He insists our experiments. You knock, no answer, you knock again, louder. Something crashes inside, followed by a string of creative, non-blasphemous curses. He opens the door with a scowl and a papyrus scroll stuck in his beard. "You brought food or questions?" he asks. You hand him the lotus resin. He grunts approvingly. "Both, then. Come in." His home is chaos disguised as genius. Shelves of dried herbs, half-written scrolls about aromatic theory, and what appears to be a jackal's skull wearing a wig. You choose not to ask. You produce the vial. His expression changes. He takes it wordlessly, sniffs once, then again, then holds it to the light. "Well, this hasn't been made in at least 2 dynasties, he mutters. "Maybe more. You see the Falcon stopper. That's pre-Amarna. The glass is Syrian. No one local could have shaped it that thin without snapping it. The scent—" He trails off. "You wait. It's not a perfume," he finally says. "It's a ritual marker, used to anoint boundary stones, or royal burial scripts. You're holding a fragrance of memory, made to trigger dreams." "Well, that explains the weird pomegranate-laced sadness." He hands it back with exaggerated care. "Keep it sealed. Use it only when you need to remember something you didn't live." You thank him, trying not to look like your brain just did a cartwheel. On your way back, you stop by a fig seller who also trades in gossip. She's heard of the lady in white, of course. An oracle, a ghost, or maybe just some noblewoman who doesn't want to pay temple tax. Helpful as always. You return to your workshop, tuck the vial back into its hiding place, and turn your attention to your afternoon orders. First up, a soothing salve for a baker whose arms have been burned. So many times he now winces when he sees his own oven. You mix aloe pulp with a little crushed mint and beeswax, folding in a drop of rose oil just to lift the spirit. The next request is more delicate. A midwife has asked for a calming balm for expectant mothers, a scent to be used during labor to ease fear and help the breath stay steady. You take this seriously. You start with marjoram, known for its relaxing properties, then add a warm base of sandalwood. For brightness, orange blossom, and for resilience, a note of clove, a scent like hope wrapped in something ancient and solid. You test it on yourself, breathe in slowly. The blend smells like dusk settling gently over water. Historians still argue whether aromatics like this were actually effective or just placebo by candlelight. But you've seen the way people react when a familiar scent touches them. You've seen grief pause, breath deepen. Eyes closed, not in pain, but peace. You call the blend First Light and write the name carefully in 3 scripts on the jar. As the light outside shifts gold again, you take a short break to sit by your door. A child walks by carrying a basket of dates, trailed by a chicken with unreasonable ambition. You snack on a fig. Anubis the cat appears from nowhere and claims your lap like it's his birthright. You stroke his back absent-mindedly and think about memory. Scent is memory. You can fake a face, copy a voice, but you can't fake the way someone used to smell when they stood beside you in the rain, or the way a particular oil clung to temple walls after a ritual. You wonder who the lady in white wants to remember. You wonder if she's the one being remembered. Later, a musician arrives at your door with an unusual request, a scent to wear during performance, not to impress, but to help him focus. "Something clear," he says, "but not cold. I want to remember the music while I'm playing it." You give him a scent of sharp lavender, green pepper leaf, and a trace of frankincense. You tell him to apply it only to his throat and wrists. He plays you a single note on his lyre before he leaves, and it echoes in your chest long after he's gone. By twilight, the city smells like cooking and rain, though it hasn't rained in weeks. The wind carries hints of the river. You pack away your tools, roll your shoulders, and light a tiny cone of incense to end the day. The vial stays on your mind. You dream of stairs descending into black water. You dream of a falcon watching. You dream of a woman in white, smiling like she knows what you've forgotten. The next morning you awaken with a dry mouth, tangled hair, and a lingering sense that someone whispered your name just before dawn. The room smells faintly of last night's incense, bitter ash and something sweet you didn't remember lighting. Anubis is sleeping on your foot, which is now numb. You sit up slowly, blinking. You dreamed again, didn't you? You almost catch it. A staircase, flickering torchlight, something about a stone basin. Then it slips through your fingers like crushed myrrh powder. You roll your shoulders, splash your face with cool water, and decide it's time to visit the temple. Not for prayer exactly. More like fact-checking. The Temple of Heka is the most likely place to find a priest who knows how to categorize the more esoteric sense of the world. They keep scrolls on everything, from embalming oils to prophetic vapors. Plus, their garden has the best shade in town. You bring a small sample of the vial's contents sealed tightly in a clay capsule. You label it resin blend for study, which is your code for please don't ask too many questions. The priest on duty is someone you recognize. Beckett, the one who collects weird amulets and has a deep mistrust of geese. She raises an eyebrow when you hand over the capsule. You're not working with the apothecaries now, are you? She teases. Or is this a secret love potion for someone extremely dramatic? Just a research project, you reply smoothly. She sniffs the capsule carefully. Her face shifts. This is old, she murmurs, but not spoiled. Preserved perfectly. You say you made it? You shake your head. Then whoever did knew what they were doing. This smells like invocation, she pauses, or protection. Historians still argue whether ancient Egyptian priests used scent to create sacred boundaries or to signal to the gods that a human was attempting contact. Either way, this was not your average rosewater. Beckett offers to consult the temple's aromatic archives. You thank her and leave the capsule with her, feeling a little lighter now that you're not the only one carrying its mystery. Back outside, the air is thick with heat. You duck into the temple garden for a breather. It's a lush oasis, papyrus, stalks, blue lotuses, even a fig tree someone has lovingly trained into a shady arch. Bees hum lazily from blossom to blossom, the kind of place where even your thoughts slow down. You sit on a carved stone bench and think about boundaries. You think about how scent defines space, how one whiff of embalming oil tells you not to speak above a whisper, how a lover's perfume can cling to you long after they've left, how temple rituals rely on precise combinations of scent to mark time, to declare sacredness, to soothe grief. You wonder again why the lady in white needed you. Back at your workshop, a merchant is waiting. He's pacing, sweaty, and smells like he lost a fight with a garlic cart. He wants something to cover the scent of camels. Important banquet, he explains, and the hostess insists I stop smelling like transportation. You try not to laugh. You mix a base of cinnamon bark and cedar oil, then layer in a touch of dried fig and crushed spearmint. The result is earthy but vibrant, like someone who just stepped out of a very clean chariot. The merchant beams, applies far too much, and declares he's never been this ready for roast duck. You open the windows to air out the excess confidence. Your next client sends a message by courier, an older woman seeking a scent for her late husband's anniversary, something that smells like his old library and the garden he never finished weeding. You pause. That's not a perfume. That's a memory in a bottle. You sit with that thought for a while, then begin slowly. First, sandalwood and old parchment for the library. Then, thyme, crushed olive leaf, and a trace of damp earth. Finally, a touch of rose, barely there, like it used to be more vibrant, but time softened it. The result is quiet, bittersweet. You label it always. You include a note, one dab on the wrist, best worn when remembering. Outside, dusk settles in again. You light your lantern, then take a final walk through the courtyard garden. It's cooler now. You pick a single lotus petal and rub it between your fingers. The scent is faint but unmistakable, watery, floral, and just a little sleepy. You're about to head in when a whisper brushes your ear. You spin, no one's there, but at the gate a scrap of linen flutters. White, embroidered, the lady's thread again. You retrieve it, heart pounding. This time it's stitched with one word. Soon. You don't sleep easily that night. You wrap the vial in extra linen, tuck it into a clay jar and place it beside your pillow, just in case. You dream of white corridors, and falcon eyes, and a hand reaching toward yours, scentless but warm. Morning greets you with light too bright for the amount of sleep you got. You sit up slowly, listening for any traces of the dream you can catch before they dissolve. Just a heartbeat, a soft flutter of fabric, and the scent of, was it lilies? You? Check the jar beside your pillow. The vial is still there, sealed, cold to the touch. Anubis stares at you from the corner of the room, his expression inscrutable. Cats have always known things they shouldn't. You get dressed deliberately, wrapping the scrap of white linen into a pouch and stringing it around your neck. You need answers, and for that you need the one person in Thebes who knows more about ancient rituals than Jehuti, and who owes you a favor after that incident with the scented ointment that melted her wig. Tia, the embalmer. She works in the district beyond the western riverbank, in a long, low building that always smells of natron, beeswax, and philosophical acceptance. You pass by the usual markers, goats nibbling laundry, a man shouting at a goose, and a child reciting a hymn, to a donkey. When you arrive, Tia is sharpening her linen scissors and humming a tune that could summon either gods or mice. She looks up. I was wondering when you'd come, you raise an eyebrow. I mean, I wasn't waiting, she adds, but I had a feeling. You've got that haunted look again. You pull out the vial. You show her the linen scrap. You explain. The dreams, the name. Her expression changes. You've been marked, she says softly. That's what this is. Scent binding. Very old magic. You swallow. What does that mean exactly? She leads you into the back room without another word. It's darker here, cooler. Shelves of oils line the walls, juniper, cedar, cypress, cinnamon. She selects a small amphora, unseals it, and dips a reed in. Then she hands it to you. Breathe. Hin, she says. You do. It hits you like a memory you don't own. Torches. Stone. Incantations in a voice too old to place. A woman in white standing beside a low table, her hands coated in fragrant resin, tracing symbols into the skin of a wrapped body. A ritual, not of death, but preservation. You stagger back. That scent is the base of what you're holding. Tia says, it's the scent of remembrance. It was used in rituals to bind a soul to memory, to ensure they wouldn't be forgotten, even if their name was lost. It's sacred. You sit down heavily on a bench. So, she wants to be remembered. Tia nods, or she wants you to remember. Historians still debate whether ritual scents carried across lifetimes, used in rites not only to preserve flesh, but to awaken identity in the next life. The theory was that if the soul recognized the scent, it could find its way home. You tell Tia's about the dreams, the falcon, the feeling of being watched. She frowns. That's not just any falcon, that's Horus. Protection, yes, but also vengeance. You may be caught in a story older than you think. You ask her if there's a way to break the connection. She smiles, not unkindly. You don't want to break it. You start to protest. She holds up a hand. Not yet, anyway. This bond, it's not malevolent. It's a message. She's waiting. On your way back through the city, the air feels different, warmer, like you're walking through honey. Every scent is sharper. Dates on the breeze, charcoal in the bakeries. Even the river mud has a perfume. It's like the whole city is trying to remind you of something. Back at your workshop, someone has left a bundle of herbs tied with ribbon. No note. You unfold it. Blue lotus, sweet marjoram, and a sliver of cedar. You sit. You light a small piece of charcoal and set the herbs to smolder. The smoke curls upward in lazy spirals, filling the room with a thick, dreamy haze. You close your eyes and you see her? Not just in glimpses this time, but clearly. The lady in white stands in a high room, walls painted with stars. She's younger than you expected. Strong. Her hands are ink-stained. She's writing. On a strip of linen, she's drawing. A sigil, yours. Then you hear her voice. When the scent fades, so will the memory. And I will be lost. You open your eyes. The herbs have burned out. The air is still. You look down. In your lap is a new piece of linen, folded like a letter. But you don't remember picking it up. You unfold it slowly. No embroidery this time. Just a single smear of blue pigment, lotus ink. You hold it to your nose, and you remember the smell of stars. The day seems to stretch on forever. The city hums with its usual rhythm, the marketplace bustling, children calling to each other in the alleys, the heat rolling off the stone streets like a thick fog. But your mind is elsewhere. tangled in. Thoughts of the lady in white, of the strange vial, of the message you don't entirely understand. You've been carrying that slip of linen around for hours now, the one with the blue lotus ink smeared across it. It's become a weight on your chest, a reminder of something you can't yet piece together. You sit down at your workbench, feeling the familiar coolness of the stone under your fingers, the faint aroma of yesterday's resin still hanging in the air. You can't concentrate. Every time you close your eyes, you see her face again just for a moment, a flash of recognition in those pale eyes, a flicker of something ancient and knowing. You've never met her before, but you feel as though you've known her forever. It's as if she's waiting, not for you to find her, but for you to remember her. Tia'a's words echo in your mind. She's waiting. What does that mean? What is she waiting for? You decide, almost against your better judgment, to try again with the vial. You've kept it sealed all this time, but something about it is drawing you in. You need to know what's inside. And more importantly, you need to know why it's been calling you. Carefully, you unseal the vial. The soft pop of the cork breaks the silence in the room, and immediately, the air shifts. There's a warmth to it, an almost tangible presence that settles around you. The scent is as strange and familiar as a long-lost memory. It's not the kind of fragrance you'd want to wear on a daily basis. There's something too intimate about it, too sacred. It's not perfume. It's a calling. You take a slow, deliberate breath. The same vision hits you instantly. The high room, the stars, the sigil being drawn on linen, the lady in white standing over it, her fingers moving with purpose. Her eyes lock with yours, and this time, there's no mistaking it. She's reaching out to you. You stumble back, a gasp caught in your throat. The room goes still. The scents linger, but there's no more vision. You're alone again. The moment is gone, leaving only the scent in the air and the lingering sensation of something unfinished. Historians still debate whether scents can actually summon visions, or if they merely unlock parts of the mind we can't access while awake. Some claim the ability to smell ancient oils or perfumed resins is enough to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. Others dismiss it as superstition, but you know what you saw. You know what you felt. You stand there for a while trying to steady your breath. Your heart is racing, but there's no immediate panic. You've felt this before when you've been close to a great discovery. The air feels heavier, charged with something you can't quite explain. You feel like you're standing on the edge of something larger than you, something vast and unknowable. And yet you can't stop yourself from reaching out again. You take the vial, carefully cork it, and return it to its place in your workbench. But this time, you leave the slip of linen on the table, the blue lotus ink staring up at you like an unanswered question. The hours slip by in a blur. You prepare the salves and ointments that have been requested, calming balms for anxious minds, soothing oils for weary bodies, but your thoughts keep returning to the lady, to the scent, to the sense of memory and loss hanging in the air like smoke. You don't know how much time passes before someone knocks at the door. It's a young messenger, breathless and eager. "Message for you," they say, thrusting a rolled parchment into your hands. You unroll it carefully. The script is elegant, familiar, but it's not from anyone you know. Not exactly. You read the words aloud, your voice barely a whisper. You've smelled it. You felt it. It is time to remember what was forgotten. The past waits. You sit back slowly, the parchment still clutched in your hand. Your mind races, your heart thuds in your chest. Who sent this? Who knows about the vial? About the vision? And why now? The walls feel closer now, the air thicker. Your fingers brush the linen slip again, tracing the delicate smear of ink. The blue lotus scent is still faint in the room, but it's there. It's real. You stand up suddenly, your chair scraping across the stone floor. The thought hits you like a bolt of lightning. The sigil. You reach into your pouch and pull out the piece of linen, spreading it across the table. The ink smudge is a perfect match for the symbol the lady was tracing. You recognize it now, an ancient, protective symbol. It's not a name or a person, it's an invitation. It's a call to remember, to uncover. You look around the room, your gaze landing on the vial again. Something about it feels less like an object and more like a key. It's not a memory, it's a gateway. You can feel it in your bones. You know what you have to do next. You have to follow the scent. You have to find the truth. You grab the vial, your hand shaking slightly. The door creaks as you push it open, stepping out into the warm, golden light of the evening. The world smells different now. The air feels heavy, waiting, and you follow it. The evening sky bleeds a soft orange as you make your way through the quiet streets of Thebes. The familiar sights, the worn stone of merchant stalls, the flickering lanterns lining narrow alleyways, feel distant, like the edges of a dream. You can't entirely remember. There's a strange pull to the night air, a sense that something is shifting, just beyond your reach. You turn the corner by the small shrine to Bastet and pause. The scent in the air has changed again. It's heavier, now richer with a deep undertone of earth. And there, just on the wind, is the faintest trace of lotus, the same scent from the vision. From the lady in white. You look around, trying to shake the sensation that you're being followed. It's foolish, you know, there's no one here, but the air is thick, laden with something unsaid, and the hairs on the back of your neck rise. You stop in front of a building you've never noticed before. It's tucked between two grander structures, its entrance almost hidden by creeping vines. The wooden door is old, weathered with age, but the faint glow of light spilling from the cracks in the frame tells you someone is inside. Someone waiting. You hesitate only for a moment before your hand reaches for the door. Inside, the air is heavy, laden with incense and the musty smell of ancient scrolls. A small, dimly lit room spreads out before you, filled with shelves of crumbling texts and forgotten artifacts. A low table sits in the center, piled high with offerings. Small statues of gods, dried flowers, and something that catches your eye. A delicate vessel, its lid covered in intricate carvings. A voice breaks through the silence. You came. The woman who speaks is older than you expected. Her face weathered with time, but her eyes sharp, filled with a knowing depth that unnerves you. She wears a robe of deep blue, patterned with symbols you don't recognize. Her hair is twisted into a knot, held together by golden pins, and she has a quiet grace to her, a sort of calm authority that seems to fill the room. "I've been waiting," she repeats, as if it's the most obvious thing in the world. You swallow, the words heavy on your tongue. "Who are you?" She doesn't answer right away. Instead, she moves toward the table and lifts the vessel you noticed earlier, revealing the same sigil you've been seeing over and over. It's etched into the surface of the jar, ancient and familiar. "Do you remember?" she asks softly. Her voice carries the weight of years, of things long buried. You stare at the sigil, trying to place it. It's so close, like a name you know but can't quite say. And then it clicks. "It's the symbol from my dreams." She nods slowly, placing the jar in front of you. Yes, it's a call to return, to remember. You take a step closer, drawn to the vessel. There's something about it, something that pulls at you as if it knows you, as if it's been waiting for you to come. But before you can reach for it, the woman raises a hand. "Not yet," she says, her tone firm but gentle. "You must understand first." She motions for you to sit at the table. You do, and she takes the seat opposite you, folding her hands in her lap. "This vessel," she begins, "was created long ago. Here it holds something precious. A memory, a story that has been lost for centuries, hidden from the world. And you," she gestures to you, "are the one who is meant to find it." You lean forward, heart racing. "What do you mean? What is this? Story?" She doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she reaches for a scroll nearby and unrolls it with practiced ease. The script is old, archaic even, but there's something strangely familiar about it. You trace the lines with your eyes, trying to decipher the words. "It is the story of a woman who was forgotten," she continues. "A woman who chose to be forgotten, to fade into the shadows of time. She was a priestess, a keeper of knowledge. Knowledge that was too dangerous for the world to know, and so she sealed it away." Her eyes meet yours, a glimmer of something ancient flickering behind them. "The lady in white," you whisper. The woman nods. "Yes, she was known by many names, but her true name is lost." Her memory has faded, erased by time by those who feared her power. You sit back, trying to process the weight of her words. The lady in white was a priestess, a keeper of forgotten knowledge. And now somehow you've become entangled in her story. You've been chosen to remember her. You're not the first to come looking for her, the woman continues. Others have sought the same answers, followed the same path, but none of them have succeeded. They could not remember what had been sealed away. You, however, she trails off, studying you with a gaze that feels both searching and knowing. You are different. You open your mouth to ask more questions, but she raises a hand. Not yet. First, you must understand what it is you are seeking. The story, the memory, is inside the vessel, but it is not for the unprepared. You must be ready. For once you open it, once the memory is unlocked, there is no going back. You nod, the weight of her words sinking in. The air in the room feels even heavier now, like the world itself is holding its breath. You understand that you're on the cusp of something momentous. You're about to unearth a secret that has been buried for centuries. But is it worth it? Are you ready for the consequences? Historians still argue whether it's ever possible to truly unlock the past, whether the knowledge of ancient rituals or long-lost stories is something humanity should even try to reclaim. Some say it's better left untouched. Others insist that without the past we have no future. You sit there, the woman's gaze steady on you, the vessel between you, the scent of lotus heavy in the air. "Do you want to know?" she asks, her voice soft but sure. You nod, and as you do, something in the air shifts again, a final whisper of forgotten time, and then she smiles. The room around you feels different now, charged with an energy you can't quite explain. The very air hums, as though it's alive with the weight of history. The woman watches you carefully, her expression unreadable, as you sit motionless, your mind racing. You've made a choice. You know that. But even now, standing on the edge of this unknown abyss, doubt creeps in. Can you really go through with it? What if the story, the memory, is more than you're ready to face? The woman notices your hesitation. With a soft chuckle, she leans forward, folding her hands once again. "There's no need to be afraid," she says, her voice quiet and soothing, like the calm before a storm. "Fear is only a part of the journey. And you—" she pauses, studying you again, her eyes narrowing just slightly. "You have already come further than anyone else." You feel the weight of her words sink in, a bittersweet truth that you can't shake. Whatever this is, whatever you're about to uncover, you're already too deep to turn back now. Your fingers brush against the delicate, worn surface of the vessel, and it almost feels like it's calling to you. She's right, you realize. You've already taken the first step into a world where everything is uncertain. There's no return, no safety net, only the promise of the unknown, the faint whisper of something buried long ago. And still, despite the unease, despite the fear clawing at the back of your throat, you reach for the vessel. The woman makes no move to stop you. Instead, she watches in silence, her face a study of calm determination. Your fingers close around the vessel's smooth edges, feeling the intricate carvings beneath your skin. There's a strange warmth to it now, as though it recognizes your touch. The sensation is almost intimate, a connection that goes beyond simple objects and material things. It's as though the vessel is aware of your presence, waiting for you, just as you've been waiting for it. You lift it gently, cradling it in your hands. It's heavier than it looks, solid in a way that feels grounding. A sense of urgency washes over you now, urging you forward, nudging you to open it. But a voice deep inside whispers caution. But the woman says nothing more, only observing with a knowing smile. You unseal the top of the vessel with slow, deliberate movements. The air seems to grow still as you do, as if the very room is holding its breath. A faint, almost imperceptible sound emerges from within, the softest hiss, like the whisper of a long-forgotten secret being unlocked. Inside, the contents are unlike anything you expected. There is no gold or treasure, no gleaming jewels or ancient artifacts. Instead, what lies within is a carefully folded piece of linen, its edges frayed with age. The fabric is a rich golden color, now dulled with time, and etched into the cloth is a pattern that makes your heart skip a beat. It's the same sigil you've seen in your dreams, the one that has followed you through every step of this journey. It's there, faintly glowing as if it holds something more than just a symbol, as if it holds a key. You reach out with trembling fingers to touch the fabric, and the instant your skin makes contact, the room seems to shift. The walls blur, the air thickens, and for a moment you feel like you're floating, as though you've been transported somewhere else entirely. The world around you becomes a swirl of colors and shapes, like fragments of a dream, flickering and shifting just beyond your grasp. You hear whispers, voices from the past, murmurs that speak in a language you don't understand. The sigil on the linen pulses in time with your heartbeat, its meaning elusive, just out of reach. But the woman's voice cuts through the haze. "Don't worry," she says, her tone soothing yet urgent. "The memory is coming. It's always been inside you." You blink, and the world snaps back into focus. You're still in the small room, the linen clutched in your hands. But everything feels different. You can't quite place it, but the air feels fuller, as though something has been awakened and it's alive with possibility. The sigil pulses softly against your fingertips. You look at the woman, and for the first time, you see something in her eyes, something genuine, a warmth, a recognition, as though she's finally seeing the part of you that was always meant to be revealed. "You're ready now," she says quietly, her voice almost a whisper, as if afraid to disturb the delicate balance of the moment. What you hold in your hands is the key to unlocking a truth that has been hidden for millennia. But remember, once the story is opened, there is no turning back. What you learn will change everything. You swallow hard. The weight of her words settles in your chest, heavy and unyielding. You nod, a silent agreement. You are ready, whatever that means. Historians still debate whether ancient rituals truly hold the power to alter the course of history, whether the knowledge contained in sacred objects can truly change the world. Some say it's all just superstition, the remnants of a lost era. Others, though, believe that the power of the past is still very much alive, waiting for the right person to unlock it. And here you are, holding the key. You take a deep breath and look at the linen one more time. The sigil's glow seems to flicker, as if it's responding to you, urging you forward. And slowly you begin to unfold the fabric. As you unfurl the linen, the air thickens, humming with an almost tangible energy. The sigil glows brighter now, pulsing rhythmically, as though it's alive, feeding off the very breath you take. There's a tension in the room, like the moment before lightning strikes, when everything stands still and you can hear your heartbeat echoing in your ears. The linen is worn, its edges delicate with age, but the threadwork is intricate, an artistry lost to time. Each stitch seems deliberate, each line purposeful. As you gently spread the fabric out, your fingers brush across the glowing sigil, and a sudden vision floods your mind. It's brief, like the flash of a dream just before you wake, but it's enough to make your breath catch in your throat. You see a woman dressed in flowing robes, standing alone on a hilltop. The world around her is wild, untamed, like an ancient landscape before civilization ever touched it. The wind whips through her hair, and she stands with such quiet resolve, as if she's waiting for something or someone. Her eyes are filled with a knowing sorrow, like she carries a burden too heavy for one person to bear. The image fades almost as quickly as it arrived, and you blink, trying to shake the vision from your mind. But something about it lingers, like the taste of something bitter on the tip of your tongue. "Do you see her?" the woman asks softly, breaking the silence. You glance up, startled to find her watching you closely, her expression unreadable. You nod slowly, unsure of what to say. "Who was she?" The woman smiles faintly, her eyes softening. "She was the one who sealed the knowledge away, the one who chose to forget." You glance back down at the linen, now fully unrolled. The sigil at the center seems to pulse once more, glowing with a faint light. The pattern is intricate, almost hypnotic. It's as if the sigil holds more than just a symbol. It holds meaning. Hidden within the threads are secrets you can't yet understand. As your fingers hover over the fabric, you sense that the sigil is connected to something far larger than yourself. It's not just a symbol of the past. It's a key to a greater truth, a truth that you've only begun to glimpse. Without thinking, you trace the sigil with your fingertip, feeling the threads underneath. The moment your skin brushes the pattern, a shock of electricity runs through your hand, sending a jolt up your arm. You gasp, but the woman merely watches, her expression unchanged. "It's ready now," she says, her voice steady. "The memory is about to awaken. But know this, what you see will be a reflection of the past. Not everything will make sense at first. Some pieces will remain lost, but others—" She pauses, her eyes distant. "Some pieces will show you things you never expected." You take a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. The anticipation is suffocating, but you can't stop now. This is it, the moment you've been preparing for. The truth is on the verge of being revealed, and all you have to do is cross that final threshold. Without saying another word, you lift the linen higher, holding it just beneath your eyes. The sigil at its center seems to shine brighter, the threads coming alive with an eerie glow. And then you hear it. At first it's faint, just a whisper in the back of your mind, like a distant echo. But the more you focus on it, the clearer it becomes. Words. Words from another time, from a language you've never heard before. You listen carefully, trying to catch the fragments of the message, but the words are elusive, slipping away every time you think you've almost understood. They sound ancient, older than anything you could have imagined. The rhythm of the words is almost musical, their cadence lulling and hypnotic, like a chant or an incantation meant to stir something deep inside. And then, with a sudden burst, the words become clear. They spill into your mind like a rushing tide, overwhelming you with their meaning. "The forgotten one," they say, "the keeper of the veil, the one who holds the key to the past." You stumble backward, almost dropping the linen. Your breath comes in short gasps as the weight of the words settles on your chest. "The keeper of the veil." You repeat, your voice shaking. The woman nods, her gaze unwavering. "Yes, the keeper of the veil, the one who holds the memory, the one who can pass between the realms of time and reality." She sealed the knowledge away because it was too dangerous, too powerful. But she knew that one day someone would come who was worthy of unlocking it. You glance down at the linen, in your hands now feeling heavier than ever. The sigil at its center glows more brightly, and the threads seem to pulse with life, as if the very fabric of the past is stretching out before you, waiting to reveal its secrets. "What does this mean?" you ask, your voice barely above a whisper. The woman stands and walks toward you, her steps slow and deliberate. "It means that the story you seek, the memory you've been searching for, is more than you could have ever imagined. You are the one who has unlocked it, the one who has crossed into a new reality." You look up at her, confusion swirling in your chest. "But why me? Why now?" "Historians still argue," she begins, "whether there are certain times in history when the past and present align, when a story long buried calls out, waiting for someone to answer. Perhaps you were always meant to find this memory. Perhaps it's been waiting for you all along." She pauses, her expression growing, serious. "But you must understand something very important. The knowledge you now possess can change everything. The question is, are you willing to bear its weight?" You look back at the sigil, the light in the room flickering as it pulses softly. "Are you ready?" she asks once more, her voice almost a whisper. The choice hangs in the air, heavy and unspoken. Your heart pounds in your chest. You realize then that this isn't just about unlocking the past, it's about living it. The veil between your world and the forgotten past has been lifted, and the truth is now within your grasp. You take a deep breath, steadying yourself. You are no longer just a witness to the story. You are part of it. The story has chosen you. The air feels charged now, as if it's alive with the pulse of something ancient. The fabric of time itself seems to ripple around you, and you find yourself holding your breath, not daring to make a sound. The woman stands before you, her expression one of quiet anticipation, as if she already knows what's coming. You glance back at the sigil, still glowing faintly, its intricacies unfolding in front of your eyes, as if the fabric is rewriting itself with every passing second. The symbols, once mysterious, are now starting to form a pattern you recognize. Fragments of history, pieces of a story long lost. Suddenly, the woman speaks, her voice barely a murmur, as though she's whispering the words into your very soul. You've stepped into a world where time is fluid, she says, where past and present aren't distinct. You've unlocked the memory of those who came before you, those who saw things you can't yet comprehend. The knowledge within this sigil is more than just a memory. It's a doorway. You swallow hard, trying to make sense of her words. A doorway? To where? To what? Historians still debate the true purpose of the sigils, whether they were used as keys to hidden worlds or as markers of power, she continues, her gaze unwavering. But one thing is certain. The ones who created them did not leave them behind without a purpose. They understood that knowledge could be dangerous, and that once the door is opened, it can never be closed again. A chill runs down your spine as her words sink in. She's right, of course. The moment you touched the sigil, you felt it, a shift, a change. It was as though the fabric of reality had bent around you, opening a path that you were never meant to see. You turn your gaze back to the linen, still warm in your hands, its glow faint but persistent. The sigil pulsates rhythmically, almost, as if it's calling to something or someone far beyond this room. It feels less like an object and more like an extension of yourself, as though it is tied to something deep within you. A memory stirs within you, vague at first, but growing clearer. You see flashes, fleeting images of faces you don't recognize, places you've never visited. They are fragments of a past you don't remember living, yet they feel intimately familiar, like they've always been a part of you. The woman watches you closely, her expression softening. Do you feel it? She asks. The connection? The memory awakening? You nod slowly, the pieces of the puzzle clicking together, though you can't fully grasp them. It's as if you've opened a door to a past life, a world you once knew, but forgot. The memory is both comforting and terrifying, like waking up from a dream you wish you could remember, but are too afraid to confront. This is only the beginning, she continues. The journey ahead will not be easy. The past you now carry is more than just knowledge, it's a responsibility. And you, whether you like it or not, are its keeper. Her words settle heavily in the space between you, and for the first time, you realize the true weight of what you've done. You've crossed into a realm where history isn't just a collection of dates and events. It's alive, fluid, ever-changing, and deeply tied to you. You stare at the sigil again, its glow pulsating like a heartbeat, urging you to step forward, to follow the path laid before you. The woman's gaze never leaves you, as though she is watching you in this pivotal moment, waiting for your next move. What do I do now? You ask, your voice steady, though the uncertainty is evident in your tone. She smiles faintly as if she's been waiting for that question. Now you begin the journey. The memory you've unlocked is a fragment of a greater truth, but it's only the start. There are others who've carried this knowledge, others who have stood where you stand now, and they too have faced the same choice. What you do with it is entirely up to you. You hold the linen tightly in your hands, the sigil still glowing softly. The weight of the woman's words presses against your chest, but for some reason you feel ready. Ready to face whatever comes next. The air around you seems to settle as you gather your thoughts. A strange calm washes over you, almost as if the very space around you has accepted your decision. The woman steps back, giving you room to breathe, to think. She doesn't speak again, allowing you the silence you need, but you can feel her presence steady and unwavering, like the calm at the center of a storm. For the first time since you began this journey, you take a deep breath, letting the quiet settle in around you. It's a peaceful silence, one that feels strangely comforting as the weight of the decision sinks in. The past has opened itself to you, and now you must choose how to move forward. You know the road ahead won't be easy. The past holds more than just memories. It holds answers and the power to change everything. But it also holds dangers, secrets best left buried. And yet, you can't help but feel drawn to it. Drawn to the unknown, to the history that still waits to be uncovered. With a steadying breath, you raise the linen once more, your fingers brushing the glowing sigil. You are ready, the woman whispers, her voice now a soft, distant hum in the back of your mind. And as you turn your gaze back toward the linen, the world around you begins to shift once again. The world begins to blur again, the edges of your vision swimming as if you're no longer fully tethered to this space. The room around you fades, and a new world unfolds, untouched by time, wild and ancient. You stand at the edge of a dense forest, the trees towering above you, their leaves whispering in a language you can't understand. The air is thick, humid, but the scent of moss and earth is comforting, grounding. The woman, now standing beside you, seems unaffected by the shift, her figure barely more than a shadow against the backdrop of the wild landscape. The reality around you feels foreign yet familiar, like you've seen it before in a dream or heard its call in the quiet moments of your life. But there's no mistaking it. You are no longer in your own time. This is a world that hasn't existed in centuries, a place lost to history. Welcome, she says softly, her voice barely rising above the murmur of the forest. This is where it all began. You look around, your mind trying to make sense of the world around you. The trees are massive, ancient. Some of them look like they've stood for millennia, their trunks wide and knotted, their branches sprawling into a canopy that shields you from the light above. You hear the distant call of birds, the rustle of unseen creatures moving through the underbrush. Where are we, you ask, though part of you already knows the answer. You're standing on the edge of history, she replies, her tone distant, as if she's been here before many times. A place that no one remembers, a time that was forgotten. It's not just a memory, it's a piece of the past, preserved in a way that no one else could ever understand. You feel a chill run through you, the weight of her words settling. Like a stone in your chest, you've always known there's something more to the past, something hidden just out of reach. But now, standing here, in a world that is both ancient and strangely timeless, you realize how little you truly understand. Historians still argue about the significance of places like this, the woman continues, her gaze sweeping the horizon. Some say they were sacred, others claim they were sites of great power. But the truth has been lost, only fragments remain, and you hold the key to unlocking them. You glance down at the linen in your hands, its sigil glowing softly despite the dim light of the forest. The connection between the two seems undeniable now. The fabric, the sigil, it's not just an object. It's part of this world, part of the very place you now stand. You can almost feel the pulse of it in your fingertips. How do we find it, you ask, the question hanging in the air, but the woman simply smiles. Follow the path, she says, and with a graceful gesture she steps toward the dense forest. It will lead you. You hesitate, but something inside you stirs. Something deep within, a flicker of curiosity and purpose, pushes you forward. You follow her into the undergrowth, each step taking you further into a past that you've only just begun to uncover. As you move deeper into the forest, the air grows denser. The canopy above thickens, casting the world in a twilight haze. Strange sounds echo around you, unfamiliar bird calls, rustling leaves, the distant splash of water. Every step seems to carry you farther from the world you know, and yet closer to something you've always sought, though you never quite understood what it was. The ground beneath your feet is soft and spongy, the earth damp from a recent rain. The trail before you winds, twisting around ancient trees, roots rising like fingers from the earth, blocking your path at every turn. You move past them carefully, stepping over the tangled webs of vines that stretch out like traps, their tendrils reaching for your legs. The woman walks ahead with ease, her movements fluid, as though she knows this path intimately. It's as though she's walked it before many times, her familiarity with the land unsettlingly confident. Where are we going? You ask, your voice carrying a slight edge of uncertainty. To the heart, she says simply, to the center of it all. You nod, but the sense of unease gnaws at you. The deeper you travel, the more the air feels thick, almost heavy, as though the world itself is holding its breath. There's a tension in the forest, a waiting as though it's anticipating something. The path grows narrower, the trees more tightly packed, The silence is oppressive, and you can't shake the feeling that you're being watched. But every time you glance around, the forest is still, its secrets well hidden. As you continue, a flicker of light catches your eye, a faint glow just beyond the next bend in the trail. You quicken your pace, your heart beating faster now, the anticipation mounting in your chest. The woman, seemingly unfazed by the change in the air, walks ahead, her footsteps barely making a sound on the earth beneath her. You round the bend, and what you see stops you in your tracks. Before you lies a clearing, bathed in an eerie, soft light. At its center is an ancient stone structure, weathered by time, but unmistakably standing as if it had been placed there just moments ago. The stones are arranged in a circle, each one etched with symbols, familiar ones but different from the sigil you've been carrying. These symbols seem to pulse with the same energy as the fabric, as if they are connected. "This is it," the woman says, her voice a whisper, though there's no need to raise it in the stillness of the clearing. The heart. The place where the story began. You step forward, your breath catching in your throat. The air here feels different, charged, ancient, as if it carries the weight of centuries. The structure stands before you, a gateway to something far beyond your understanding. "You've come to unlock it," the woman says, her tone soft but resolute. "But remember, this knowledge is not just a gift, it's a choice. Once you step forward, there's no going back. You swallow, your heart pounding in your chest. This is it, the moment you've been preparing for. The truth, the story, the memory of a time long past, all of it is within reach. But what will it mean for you, for your life, to uncover it?" You step closer to the stone structure, the sigils, on the stones glowing faintly, calling you forward, and with that you cross the threshold. The moment you step across the threshold, the air shifts again. The world around you warps, as if the space itself bends to accommodate your presence. The soft glow from the stone structure intensifies, casting long shadows across the clearing, and for a brief disorienting second, you feel like you're no longer standing in a forest at all, but somewhere far beyond time and place, somewhere in between. The sensation is fleeting, but it's enough to make you pause. You glance back, at the woman, who remains standing just outside the circle of stones. Her gaze is calm, almost knowing, but there's a subtle unease in her expression, a quiet acknowledgement that you've crossed into something irreversible. "You've entered the center," she says, her voice no more than a soft murmur that seems to blend with the rustling of the leaves. "Now the choice is yours. What you uncover here may change everything." You take a deep breath, the weight of her words sinking in. The clearing is peaceful, almost too peaceful, and the glow from the stone structure pulses gently, like the rhythm of a heartbeat. Each symbol etched into the stone seems to resonate, vibrating with a deep, unearthly hum that you can almost feel deep within your bones. But despite the tranquility, something within you stirs. A feeling, faint but unmistakable, that something is watching, not just the woman, but something far older, something that has been waiting for this moment. Historians argue whether places like this were meant to preserve knowledge or to conceal it. The woman continues, breaking the silence. Some say they were built to protect secrets, others claim they were repositories of power. But one thing remains true, whatever is hidden here is not meant for just anyone. It's meant for those who can see it, understand it, and, ultimately, control it. You step forward, the ground beneath your feet soft but firm, the earth almost welcoming. The symbols on the stones seem to grow clearer the closer you get. Their edges shimmer with an ancient energy, pulling you in, urging you to come closer, to touch them. As you reach out tentatively, the air around you seems to hum like the building charge before a storm. A soft, almost imperceptible crackling fills the space, and for a moment you hesitate. What will happen if you make contact? What will you uncover? A deep part of you feels ready to know. Another part, however, feels the overwhelming weight of uncertainty. There's power here, ancient and untamed, and with it comes the undeniable truth. Power always requires a price. With a slow breath, you place your fingers on one of the stones. The moment you make contact, the world shifts again. The symbols on the stones blur, their outlines softening as if they're being pulled from one dimension into another. You blink, and suddenly the world around you isn't the forest anymore. The trees are gone, replaced by an endless sea of stars stretching out in every direction. It's as if the very fabric of reality has torn open, showing you what lies beyond the physical world. The stars shimmer, twinkling in a way that feels impossibly close. You hear a sound then, soft, like a whisper, but when you turn to listen, there's no one there. The voice is not of a person, but of the cosmos itself. It's the hum of the universe, a sound older than time. Do you hear it? The woman asks, her voice sounding far away as though it's coming from another world entirely. The call of the past, the pulse of history itself. You nod, unable to form words. The sensation is overwhelming, like hearing the breath of every living thing, every moment in history, every thought that has ever been thought all at once. It's intoxicating, this feeling of connection, of knowing. You can feel the weight of the world's history settling on your shoulders. In this moment, you are part of something much larger, something eternal. The world's stories, your stories, are laid out before you, and for the first time, you understand the depth of what you've unlocked, but just as quickly as it came, the vision fades. The stars disappear and you're back in the clearing, standing before the stone structure. The air is still as if nothing has changed, yet something inside you feels different. The world seems quieter, more profound, as though a veil has been lifted. Historians still debate the purpose of this place, the woman says, her voice back to its soft, calming tone. But there's one thing we know for sure. This was not built to be seen lightly. It was meant to be unlocked only by those who are ready to carry its burden. You feel the weight of her words again, and you understand. Whatever you've just experienced, whatever you've touched, it has changed you. It has given you insight, but also a responsibility. You glance back at the linen still clutched in your hands, the sigil faintly glowing. Somehow it feels lighter now, as though the energy from the stones has passed into it. You feel a connection, an undeniable thread between what you've uncovered here and what you carry with you. Are you ready? The woman asks, her gaze steady. But there's an edge to it now, an urgency that wasn't there before. You know there's no going back now. What you've unlocked here is just the beginning. You've stepped into a world where history is alive, where the past is more than just a series of events. It's a living, breathing thing, and it's waiting for you to continue its story. You take a deep breath, steadying yourself. The decision has already been made. With a final glance at the glowing sigils, you step forward into the next chapter. The air around you feels electric, charged with an energy you can barely comprehend. The stones, now silent and still, seem to watch you as you step away from the center of the circle. The world around you holds its breath, as if waiting for the next move. It's almost as if time itself has stopped, allowing you a moment to reflect. But even in this eerie stillness, you feel the pull of what lies ahead. The woman stands by, her expression unreadable, her gaze unwavering as she watches. You sense that she knows what's happening inside of you. The battle between curiosity and fear, the rush of discovery tempered by the weight of knowing. There's a decision before you now. You've unlocked the door to a past long buried. But what comes next is entirely up to you. Are you ready to move forward? She asks again, her voice quiet, but filled with an undeniable conviction. The forest too seems to echo her words, its quiet hum now almost a part of your own heartbeat. You nod, though you're not sure if you're fully prepared for the magnitude of what lies ahead. You've just crossed the threshold into a realm where history itself seems to bleed into the present, where the boundaries between the past and the future are no longer so clearly defined. There's no turning back now, no returning to the world you once knew. You've entered a realm where time doesn't simply pass. It's felt, lived, and experienced in a way that goes beyond mere memory. The woman steps forward, gesturing for you to follow. Her movements are slow, deliberate, as though she's guiding you through a place where every step counts. The path before you has become less defined, as if the very forest around you is reshaping itself, folding into the past. You feel the ground beneath your feet shift, the earth softening as you move forward. It's as if the landscape itself is alive, changing in response to your presence, pulling you deeper into the heart of something ancient and primal. As you walk, the silence deepens, and you begin to notice the sounds of the forest fading away. The distant rustle of leaves, the chirping of unseen creatures, all of it becomes muffled as if a veil is being drawn over the world. The only sound now is the steady rhythm of your breath and the faint crackling of energy in the air. History is not a linear path, the woman says, her voice barely audible over the thickening silence. It doesn't follow the neat lines we've drawn in our books. It's a labyrinth, a tangled web of choices and consequences. You are standing at a crossroads, one that was set in motion long before you arrived. You try to process her words, but they hang in the air like a riddle, just beyond your grasp. What does it mean to stand at a crossroads in history? What path are you meant to follow, and what will happen if you make the wrong choice? Historians argue whether events in history are determined by fate or free will, she continues, her eyes meeting yours with a knowing look. Some believe that everything happens for a reason, that every action has a predetermined consequence. Others think that we are the masters of our own destinies, able to shape the future with the choices we make. But here, in this place, the lines between fate and free will blur. You feel the weight of her words settle on you like a cloak. The pressure is immense, and yet there's a strange comfort in knowing that you are part of something larger than yourself, something that extends beyond the limits of your understanding, beyond the boundaries of time. With each step you take, the forest grows darker, the shadows lengthening as if time itself is collapsing in on itself. You hear the faintest hum in the air, a vibration that seems to resonate with the very essence of the earth beneath you. The trees around you, once ancient but familiar, are now distant and foreign. Their trunks are twisted, gnarled, their bark etched with symbols that seem to pulse with energy. The woman walks ahead, undeterred by the shifting landscape, her movements fluid and certain. You can't help but feel a strange connection to her, as though she's a part of this world, a being who understands its rhythm, its pulse. She's not just guiding you, she's leading you through something that is as much a part of her as it is a part of you. Every step you take here is a choice, she says, her voice barely rising above a whisper. Each decision leads you closer to the heart of this world, to the truth you've come here to uncover. But remember, some truths are not meant to be known. You swallow, your throat dry. What does it mean to uncover the truth, and why would some truths be better left undiscovered? The question hangs in the air unanswered, as you continue to follow her deeper into the forest. As the path narrows, you begin to sense the presence of something else, something that wasn't there before. It's subtle at first, a soft rustling of leaves, a movement at the corner of your eye. But when you turn, there's nothing there. The air is still, and yet you can't shake the feeling that something is watching, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. The woman glances back at you, her face unreadable. "We are not alone here," she says, her voice barely audible. "There are forces at work, ancient forces, that have been waiting for this moment." You stop in your tracks, your heart pounding in your chest. The forest around you has grown dense, the shadows darker than ever. The air feels thick, heavy, charged with an energy that makes your skin prickle. Suddenly you hear it, a low rumbling sound, like the growl of a distant animal. The ground beneath your feet shifts, and the trees around you groan, as if they, too, are responding to something. You glance around, but there's no sign of movement. No creature, no shadow, no sign of what's causing the disturbance. "Whatever happens next," the woman says, her voice calm but tinged with an edge of caution, "you must be prepared. The story of this place is not yet finished, and your role in it is just beginning." You take a deep breath, bracing yourself for whatever is to come. You know that you've already stepped beyond the threshold of history, beyond what was once familiar. Whatever forces lie ahead, they will reveal themselves soon. And with that, you continue forward,